Hey, good morning, buddy boyos. This is Jay Tahoe here. Just taking a little drive back home this morning, and I thought I'd take this opportunity to make a video on the topic of nuance, since it's a topic I don't see a lot of nuance in this community, and I think a lot of people don't have the ability to see nuance, which is why I wanted to address the topic. All I see, there's so much absolutism, all right? Like, and as we know, only a Sith deals in absolutes. But I joke, but seriously, it's there's all this absolutism, right? There's this, it's this biological, lookism, and only Chad, is seen as desirable, and it's, I'll get plenty of comments about it today, I'm sure. I always do. And just a reminder, you guys, if you guys disagree with me so much, I mean, everybody loves to come on here and insult me and tell me how blue-pilled and how much of a normie I am. If you disagree so much, nobody's making you watch this content. Okay, I get tons of hate comments, and it's fine. Like, I wake up and I read them, and it's a good way for me to entertain myself every day. But just a reminder, nobody's making you watch this. I mean, you guys know where the thumbs down button is. Have at it. I don't really care. I'm not here for YouTube is not my career, put it that way. This is a hobby for me. But anyway, back to the topic at hand. Inability to see nuance, okay? So what I think is the reason why there's so much absolutism in this community is because everybody wants, this father figure in the form of Face and LMS or Inkwell TV or whatever, YouTube or what have you. They want this father figure who has all the answers. That way you can have your fatalistic closure as to why your problems are what they are. And don't get me wrong, for some people, yes, it is legitimately, looks are entirely their problem. But as I've said, there seems to be a much more common factor that I won't, outwardly say, since YouTube will probably ban me, but you guys know what it is. There's a spectrum of it. That's all I'll say on that. But typically, somebody affected by that type of an issue likes very measurable things, right? Like height and millimeters of bone and interpupillary distance, things that can be measured, things that, can be very exact. But here's the problem is we are dealing with human beings here. So there is no equation, okay? There is no absolutes. Every human being is different. And that's where having EQ comes into play, understanding, social dynamics. So here's what I'll say, right? I actually agree with this community, with a lot of the people in this community, even the absolutists, that yes, attracted people do have an advantage in life. I'm not denying that, okay? But that's also saying that, disadvantaged and over are two very different things. For example, okay, yes, the studies I agree with that, yeah, we are less likely to not trust an unattractive person. Now, I've seen this scenario in the workplace before, right? In previous jobs, where somebody would come in, there'd be a new person, and they're not really good looking, okay? Or they're ugly. And at first, people are kind of not really so trusting of the person, because the lookism has made that they have not made a good impression due to lookism. However, the person just knocks it out and starts doing a great job, and then everybody's like, oh, okay, this guy can kick it. And then all of a sudden, he's got a good social circle and people want to talk to him. So he overcame the initial bad impression, by being competent. Because at the end of the day, I think competence is the most important thing you can have. And that's why I'm always telling you guys, instead of LDARing, become good at things, get hobbies, do things that interest you, because by default, people are going to want to talk to you if you have those things and if you're good at them, okay? That's how it goes. That's not to say, if you are not attractive, people will be less willing to do so. I agree with you on that. But again, it is something that can generally be overcome if you have a good social IQ. And that's why I think a lot of the people who are very absolute about the lookism also have that other common factor, which causes people, which causes people to, like things that are only measurable and, can be very, very specific in scope. So that's what I think is the common factor there anyway. But anyway, yeah, it's you guys need to be able to see nuance, and you guys need to be able to see that there isn't an equation for this. Like when someone there was somebody who said that they had an equation to determine the probability of snuggles and the variables in the equation, right? Like the X, the Y, and the Z were like, their PSL rating, their social skills, their status, how much money they have. But except for the money part, right? Which is, you can, tally up their assets and, what their net worth is, right? Everything else is entirely subjective. And once again, everybody's going to say oh, Jay Tahoe, he thinks that, a guy who's like a 3 out of 10, somebody sees him as a 7 out of 10. I've addressed this in a previous video, okay? No, that would be delusional to say that somebody who's, has a recessed chin and, eyes far apart and balding is seen as a 7. But again, there's some subjectivity of about 2 points, I'd say, because again, and I've told you guys to do this, right? Blindly ask 20 different people, 20 different men to rate you, so you can say it's not virtue signaling, right? It's other men rating you, right? And don't do it in a public space where they can work off of each other's answers. Do it blindly. Ask 20 people separately and don't, tell them that you have other people rating you, and take the average. You can actually prove that there's subjectivity that way, because I bet you're going to get different answers by about 2 points. Some people might tell you you're a 4. Other people will say oh, you know what? You have this good feature. Yeah, you're like a 6. And it works the same way, with women and by society. There is a degree of subjectivity. So if you're getting 4s and 6s, chances are you're probably somewhere around 5. You're probably about average. But yeah, you're gonna see variation, and sometimes not even within one standard deviation of average. So again, do that, and you can prove that there's nuance in these things. Status, entirely subjective. What's important? Let's say you're a hockey star. Well, you're going to have a niche of people who that's very important to them. If they grew up watching hockey and their town is big on hockey, well, guess what? You're going to have more clout amongst those people. Whereas you go to a place where people only care about football, it's like, oh, all right, well, who are you? It's entirely. There's no equation for this. You guys need to see the nuance. It makes me want to bash my head into a wall, the amount of absolutism here and goalpost shifting. Because I'll say oh, you guys think looks are everything, and once again, I agree that they're at least 40-50% of it. Once again, but everybody's like, you're coping and you're denying that it's. I'm what I'm saying is we don't know. We don't actually have all the answers, and we're far from it. We actually don't. We know that if you go on Tinder, okay, with a very good-looking male model looking guy, he'll get a lot more matches. All right, we know that. We know he's probably going to snuggle more. Okay, great. Except those people are so rare and far and few in between in real life. It's you're not even going to see that in real life. Okay, I think I went 2 months without seeing, and I go a lot of places. Okay, for my job takes me a lot of places. Even during COVID, I was out, a good amount, and I think I went 2 months without seeing an honest to God, bona fide actual Chad. Okay, so again, you're not going to see this in real life. And again, it's one of those things where, online, the ratio of men to women is so skewed, right? It's so skewed that, of course, something like that is just going to stand out. But in real life, under the same conditions, you're gonna have women who are intimidated by Chad. You're gonna have like Coach Blackpill said in one of his latest videos, there was a Chad with a pet snake, and it turned the girl off, and she didn't do it. You don't factor in things like that. You're not factoring in, human emotion. But again, I think that's a trait of people affected by this common factor that I keep talking about, you're not factoring in, human emotion in the way that you make somebody feel. It's really sad. You guys got to start thinking about that. And seeing that it's not as black and white as you make it out to be, like this absolute biological lookism. Like I'm not even denying that there's a problem. But again, as I've stated, I think that the root cause of the problem is sociological, not biological. Okay? If you look at since the inception of social media, the rates of depression have gone up among millennials and Zoomers. Okay, you can find plenty of studies that show this, because there's an envy effect. Okay, it's not just women just want Chad. It's men are getting more depressed too, because now people see their friend just bought a boat and a Corvette, and it's like, oh well, I don't have a boat, I don't have a Corvette, and that makes men compete amongst each other too. Social media just hasn't been good for, it's made us a very superficial society, which of course you're going to see a much heavier importance placed upon looks when you have something like that. Whereas in the past, it wasn't as facially focused. And you guys want a sociological black pill? I'll tell you one. So I won't say what she does, but my girlfriend worked with high school age children in one of her previous age jobs, and one of the things they were doing, I guess, was they were making a list of things that they like about themselves. Right now, I remember doing something similar to this in high school, and when I was in high school, most people would put things that were more intrinsically of value, right? Like they'd say well, I'm a good athlete, and I have a 3.9 GPA. I'm intelligent. I can throw somebody out from the warning track at center field, or I know how to dress well, things like that. When these students were, responding, it was all things like, oh, I have very nice eyes, and I have even include the men and the women. It'd be like, or oh, I have good hair. It was all physical traits about themselves. So that to me was an immediate signifier of, hey, we've moved from valuing traits that say we worked hard for, right? Like being a good athlete, or getting good grades and stuff like that, right? To just valuing the superficial. And that to me basically signified a sociological shift. I gotta turn here, sorry. That to me signified a sociological shift. So again, our biology hasn't changed, right? Our biology takes a long time to change over an evolutionary course, but society can change like that. And as I've said, I've done plenty of videos that show sociological conditioning can override biological imperatives. Once again, I've shown you guys that data that shows that the average age of a first-time mother has gone up from 24 to 29 since the 60s. And you can look that up. Look up average age of first-time mother. You'll find an article from you'll find Pew Research. It'll show you, it's gone up, it's gone up 5 years since the 1960s, which means women are waiting till later in life to have children, which, as we know, is most likely influenced. It's a sociological influence, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just commentating that sociological influence does play a role on people. If they were truly acting on a biological imperative, then they'd want to have the baby during their fertility prime. They'd want to find Chad and have a baby during their fertility prime, which is 16 through 23, 24. Not in their 30s, which is becoming, the average age is just increasing. It's actually, they're saying it's going to be 30 soon is the average age of a first-time mother. So just keep that in mind. There's plenty of data, right? It really, I'm gonna scream if I hear people say the lookism is proven, bro. It's science. I'm like, because there's so much misinterpretation of the data, okay? Like, yes, there is some very blackpilling data out there, but there's also some data that's greatly misinterpreted. And again, I've done plenty of videos on this about how people, like, I don't know if it's low IQ or just confirmation bias, but there's data that's being greatly misinterpreted to mean a certain thing when in real life it doesn't necessarily mean that. So again, like, I think I'm going to end the video here because I'm just ranting at this point and I'm almost home. But again, you guys, like, you really need to ask yourself, if you're one of these absolutists, you need to ask myself, can I see the nuance in this? It's the same thing with, like, politics. I get so pissed off by the people on the hardcore right and the hardcore left because they only see, they only see the stuff that agrees with their point of view, even though there's, plenty of opposites smacking them right in the face, okay? And that's why politically, I guess I'm more moderate. I'm more moderate because I see that both, honestly, really, I don't like the left or the right, like neither system, but there's plenty of drawbacks to both systems. All right. Like there's no clear cut solution. We need to kind of compromise to find the best possible solution, I think. But it's the same thing with, with this problem that we're seeing now with the TFL men and everything is, I think a lot of people just want some type of fatalistic closure, but they don't want to admit that there's nuance to it, and we don't actually know all the causes to the problem. And, saying that we know the answer and close the book, case closed, is not helping to solve the problem. Anyway, I'm going to end the video now. Have a great day, guys, and I'll see everybody in the next one. Bye.